You thought the concrete cows were weird. Hi, I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and I have once again had to kill some time in Milton Keynes, and so I have found yet another weird little hidden gem of a green space right in the city centre. Come along, I'll show you what I found. Central Milton Keynes might strike you as being a sort of concrete jungle, but it's actually dotted with parks and gardens and informal green places to try and punctuate the grid system that we've got going on here. The city was designed with sort of nature in mind. We've got lots and lots of trees. It was originally built on agricultural fields, marshlands, hedgerows, ancient woodland, meadows, and the design sort of took inspiration from townships in the Netherlands that adopted a naturalistic approach to landscaping, deploying native species in housing areas. So, housing and industrial estates in Milton Keynes are often secluded. They're flanked by grassy banks and thickets of willow, pine, dogwood, and roses. And to date, Milton Keynes has more than 22 million trees and shrubs, around 100 for every resident. Now, I am told, although I don't know if it's actually true, that the different housing districts in Milton Keynes each have different species of trees. And so, if you were knowledgeable about such things, you would be able to tell where you are in the grid based on the species of trees and shrubs around you. I am not sure if that is actually true or not, and I can't find anything to confirm it. But I love the idea of it, and I wish that it was, because finding your way around the grid system in Milton Keynes, virtually impossible. This particular garden, like many in Milton Keynes, is dotted with these gorgeous big steel welded sculptures. This one is orange and blue. It's made up of 4 parts that reach up into the sky. It's got this real sort of primary coloured industrial feel to it, which I really love. So, the Fred Roche Gardens is a public space where they tried to bring together art, architecture, and nature. And Bernard Schottlander, who is the artist that made these sculptures, was born in Germany in 1924, and he came to Leeds as a Jewish refugee in 1939. He studied sculpture for a year in London, and his training as a welder influenced his work quite heavily. He opened a studio in North London with his assistant George Nash, who had himself learned his craft in the Royal Air Force's workshops. I love that this sculpture had a little bit of braille on it. I presume that the braille tells you what the sculpture's name is, because I can't read braille, but it says 3B series number 5, 1983. And this is a gorgeous piece. It's almost like a staircase, but if each step tread was really curved. It's white and it's really, really smooth and tactile. The braille actually gave me the confidence to think that I was allowed to touch these sculptures. And actually, I don't think that it would do them any harm at all. I think it would be fine to touch them. But it's almost like a staircase made of cloud, but made of steel. It's absolutely beautiful. And then through the garden, as we continue up, there's another one that's bright red, and it kind of looks like a V and an A leaning against each other, but it's absolutely huge. And I was actually so impressed with the welding quality on it. I just couldn't stop running my fingers along all of the edges and joins on it. I was really, really impressed by it. Now, I'm pretty sure that in this area of the garden, they often have open air cinema, but I haven't actually been there myself. But I've heard that there's a lot of events that go on in this particular park garden. And you can see sort of steps that could also be kind of like tiered seating. And I'm pretty sure that that's where you sit when you go for the open air cinema. Now, if you have accessibility aids, you might want to be a bit careful around the big red sculpture because there are a few random grills in the ground that are quite wide, and so you could easily catch them on a cane or a walking stick, something like that. But other than that, this park itself is actually quite accessible. The sculptures are all really tactile, you can touch them. The steps where they are there are very, very shallow, to the point where actually some of them are too shallow, and there are softly sloping sort of ramp areas around the edges of the park as well if those steps are still too much for you to manage. Those rampy sort of areas, they're not ramps, they're sort of side roads that kind of gently drift up in an incline, and they are quite gravelly, and although they're not very steep, so you might struggle with those if you were in a very heavy wheelchair. One of the things that I really, really liked about this park is that there are lots of signs with QR codes to take you to the website for a place called Look Again, which is all about the different artworks that you can find in Milton Keynes. And so I really, really enjoyed learning about them. I also really enjoyed kicking my way through the very first autumn leaves of the season. It was a weird mix of seasons here because we still had the summer flowers out, and the rosemary that's planted here was so fragrant as well, especially near the seating areas. And so it was just a really nice sensory experience all round. The paths are wide and smooth and brick and really, really easy to navigate and walk on. And I just really, really enjoyed my little walk around there. Now, through the gap in the trees there, you can see Christ the Cornerstone Church, which is in the centre of Milton Keynes. It was actually the first ecumenical city centre church in the UK. It opened in 1992, and it hosts worshippers from all different denominations, including Baptist, Church of England, Catholic and United Reformed Church. It was designed by Ian Smith of the Plan and Design Development, and it has this massive grand dome which is 101 feet high. The cross itself was created by an artist called Alan Evans and was lifted into place on Good Friday 1991, which adds another 18 feet to the height of the church. That cross can be viewed from 360 degrees and consists of 8 blades wrapped together with steel. The artist reflects the nature of the church, the coming together of different denominations, binding together of elements whilst retaining their individual identity. I love the little desire path that's been created from the church into the garden here. Here we're coming in from the top end of the garden instead, right by the red statue, and then we can walk down into the city centre from there. And it is just a really, really beautiful little walk. There's got these little tree-lined avenues coming off of the central part of it. And I actually only walked down here because I was filming and there was somebody else coming up the path and I didn't want to film them if I didn't need to. But I'm actually so glad that I went this way because although the view that way, not the best, the view this way is absolutely gorgeous. And if I hadn't come down here, then I wouldn't have found this lovely little bug hotel that I had no idea was here. But how cool is that? It's massive. So I had a little sit down by the rosemary, enjoyed the scent of that because I was waiting for my husband to come out, the recruitment consultants, but I was enjoying the flowers and the sense of everything. It started to get a little bit chilly though, so I popped into the cafe across the way. Didn't film much in there because it was very, very crowded, but have myself a lovely little latte in one of the friendliest cafes that I've ever been, where it felt like everyone was a regular and I was an extra in Cheers or something. So that cafe is called Upper Regency Cafe. I think that's the name of the building that it's in. It is literally just across the street from the garden that we were just in. It was absolutely gorgeous. I wish I could have filmed a bit more of it, but it was very, very crowded. Probably because the staff in there was so friendly and so nice. I really, really enjoyed my little sit there. And I think because the people there were so nice and so friendly, like everybody knew each other's names coming in, people coming in and saying hi to each other that clearly didn't know each other outside of the context of that cafe. And I think that because the owners and the workers were so nice there, it made all of the other people around feel like they wanted to be nice too. I had actually dislocated my thumb the week before and it was very, very sore and I was having to use electrical tape to tape it up and keep it immobile. But while I was walking around the park, I'd got a bit sweaty and it had started to come off. And I had the tape in my bag and I was struggling to sort of rip it myself one-handed and stick it on one-handed. And 2 different people offered to help me and they helped me strap my hand up real good. In fact, a bit too good. They were doing it quite tight, but it did really help. And I'm tape free again now, a little bit sore, but it's not nearly as bad as it was when I did it. So join me again next week. I'm not quite sure what I am vlogging about yet because I was very tempted to teach you all about the pumping station on Kersingland Beach, and then halfway through making the video I just thought this is going to be the most boring video in the world. It'll be like going on a school trip. So I've junked that idea and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week now. But I will be here anyway talking about something, maybe not something quite as boring as that. And if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for. Sometimes I'm letting you know what's challenging me, like when my thumb just falls out because I cleaned the bathroom. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card pull for you as well. I've changed up my little system recently. I've changed up my background. I've got a new little place that I'm doing it and it feels really nice there. But of course you can book me as always for private one-to-one readings as well. Those don't go on YouTube, they go straight to your email inbox, so I won't be telling everybody all of your spiritual business. So like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not your mum, and either way, I will see you on Monday. Have yourself a beautiful week.